Guna, Triya, Vibhaga, Yoga. Chapter number 14. Okay. Does anyone in this group remembers the titles of all first 13 chapters? No? Okay. Try to memorize. Try to memorize. It's not that difficult. Okay. So try to remember. So this one is, and the chapter before this was a Kshetragya Vibhagya. Chapter before that was a Bhakti Yoga, right? So we should always, we can go back also, we can go forward also. If somebody asks you what is the chapter 14, you should be able to say Guna, Triya, Vibhaga, Yoga. Okay. So short chapter, let's just go through it. And if you have any question, we can talk about it also. So Gun means these three gunas, three modes of nature, three qualities. And what are the three qualities? Satvikta, Rajsikta, Tamsikta. Gun, tre means three. Vibhag is the division. Division. Okay? So this whole nature is divided in these three. So Lord Krishna said, I shall further explain to you the supreme knowledge, the best of all knowledge. Knowing this, all the sages have attained salvation. So it's that kind of a knowledge. This is the knowledge which we really know. Because salvation is the ultimate goal. If that is the goal, how to attain that goal? With the help of knowledge. So he says, I'm going to tell you that knowledge. Those who have taken refuge in this transcendental knowledge attain unity with me and are neither born at the time of creation nor afflicted at the time of dissolution. Okay, so it's that kind of a knowledge. My material nature is the womb of creation wherein I place the seed of consciousness from which all beings are born, O Arjuna. So it's a material nature. Material nature is what? This Prakriti. See, in Sanskrit it goes, Mam yonir mahad brahma tasmin garbha dadamya aham. So in this material nature, I put the seed in there. Whatever forms are produced in all different wombs, O Arjun, the material nature is the body-giving cosmic mother, and the spirit or consciousness is the life-giving father. So it's like a wedding between the material nature and the divine spark. Okay, that's what he's talking about. Whatever forms are produced, so no matter which form it is, it could be a plant form, it could be animal form, it could be a bird form, human beings, or even the angels up there. Any form are produced in all different wombs. The material nature is their body-giving cosmic mother. So in the previous chapter, the terms which he used was Kshetra and Kshetragya. So there was a Kshetra is the body. Kshetragya is that spirit. And the spirit or the consciousness is the life-giving father. Goodness, passion, and ignorance. These three modes of material nature fetter the eternal individual soul to the body. So Sattvam Rajastam iti Gunaha Prakriti Sambhava. So they have come out of the Prakriti, these Rajsikta, Tamsikta. And in the parentheses he said, inertia is the Tamsikta. And activity is the Rajsikta. And goodness is Satvikta. So these three modes. And this gun also means a rope. Rope is the one which ties. So with the rope of these three, we are tied. Anything we need to tie, we use a rope. So gun means rope also. So nature fetter the eternal individual soul to the body. Of these, the mode of goodness is illuminating and good because it is pure. So even the Satvikata binds. That's the point he's trying to make. Of these, the mode of goodness is illuminating and good because it is pure. The mode of goodness fetters the living entity by attachment to happiness and knowledge, O sinless Arjun. So he is telling us goodness, Satvikata is goodness, it's pure, but still it is part of the Prakriti, and that also binds. And how does it bind? Attachment to happiness, attachment to knowledge. If we forget that what is the goal after getting knowledge, we are bound. If we get attached to the happiness, we are bound. So knowledge is not the goal. Knowledge is also a means to attain a different goal. And goal is what? To know yourself, which is beyond Satvikta. A painter feels very happy painting. But if it gets attached to that painting, even though it could be a painting of a God's form, but still getting attached to that action itself, which is a sattvic action, it can become a bondage. Or knowledge, like if I'm giving the knowledge to you, and if I get attached to this giving of the knowledge, it can become a bondage too. Giving a knowledge, sharing a knowledge is better than doing anything else. But still, it can be a bondage if we don't understand that this is only a means, not the end. Okay, is that clear? Because this is a very subtle point. A lot of people think that no, sattvic life, you are learning, you are teaching. What's wrong in it? No, it can become very wrong because it can be a bondage. Okay, let me read it again. Of these, the mode of goodness is illuminating and good because it's pure. So that's why it feels good, feels excellent. The mode of goodness fetters the living entity by attachment to the happiness and knowledge. So key word is attachment. There's nothing wrong in being knowledgeable. There's nothing wrong in being happy, but attachment to that. So the mind, which is supposed to be free, we need to transcend the mind, and mind gets attached, then we are bondaged. It's almost like if somebody ties you with a gold chain, you say, oh, gold, it's a precious metal, but still you are tied. So whether you are tied with a gold chain or you are tied with a iron chain, you are still bondaged. Okay, so this is a pure, definitely illuminating. It feels good, but still a bondage. Arjun know that the mode of passion is characterized by intense craving for sense gratification and is the source of material desire and attachment. The mode of passion binds the living entity by attachment to the fruit of work. See the difference? Sattvic attachment is when we get attached to the happiness and to the knowledge. Rajasic attachment is when we get attached to the fruits of the actions. Clear? So if you want to just, in a very simple term, remember, whenever we are getting attached to the outcome of any action, that's Rajasic. Going back to my example, if I get attached, I just get happiness only if I can teach, that's a sattvic attachment. If I get attached to how many people come and whether they appreciate me or not, whether they make the offering to the ashram or not, then that's a rajasic attachment. Still it's attachment. Okay? And the lower than that, lower than rajasic attachment is, he says, know, O Arjun, that the mode of ignorance, the deluder of the living entity, is born of inertia. The mode of ignorance binds the living entity by carelessness, laziness, and excessive sleep. Okay, if I say, no, today I don't want to teach, I would rather just sit over there and watch movie. When I become selfish, when I become lazy, or when I teach carelessly, without putting my heart and soul into it, any action can take the form of tamsikta. See the difference? So these are like three different ways individualized soul gets bound. So by sattvic also, by rajasic also, by tamasic also. So we are looking for the liberation, so we got to know the deeper and deeper implications of all this in all our actions. O Arjun, the mode of goodness attaches one to happiness of learning and knowing the spirit. The mode of passion attaches to action. I want to do more action because I'm going to get something out of it. That makes us workaholic. And the mode of ignorance attaches to negligence by covering self-knowledge. So in this particular verse, he is summarizing the effect of these three gunas. Then he says, how do we really identify these gunas? I mean, we know effect of the guna, but how do we know? Lord Krishna gives us good symptoms. Every disease is known because of its symptoms. See, for this COVID also, don't we look at it, what are the symptoms? When we go to a doctor also, don't they ask what the symptoms are? Then they say, this is the disease. So Lord Krishna used the same kind of a technique over here, the symptoms of each and every guna. He says, first he tells us, goodness prevails by suppressing passion and ignorance. Passion prevails by suppressing goodness and ignorance prevails by suppressing goodness and passion. Oh, Arjun. So it's like all three are there in us, but which one prevails? That is predominantly at that time. See, right now we are learning. We feel sattvic. We are learning something new, something good, something pure. But when there's a little argument starts, I know better than you, that's a rajasic. When we try to put each other down, then it's tamasic. So which one prevails? In other words, you can see that if there are three boxes, there are always one on top and the other are down. The one on the top is the one which is prevailing. Okay. Then he says, when the light of self-knowledge illuminates. So this is the symptom which I was talking about earlier. So he has started giving us the symptoms. When the light of self-knowledge illuminates all the senses in the body, then it should be known that goodness is predominant. Sattvikta is known for the light, for the purity. So when the senses, they have the light in them. Is it a physical light? No. That really means that eyes want to see something good. When the mouth says something which is helpful, something which is truthful, the ears, they want to hear the name of the God. That is he's talking about. When the light of self-knowledge illuminates all the senses in the body, then it should be known that goodness is predominant. That means that there is a sattvic. Sattvikta is rising in that personality. When we want to help others rather than get help from others. When we want to read good books, when we want to meditate, that means predominance of sattvikta. Oh Arjun, when passion is predominant, greed, activity, undertaking of selfish work, restlessness, and excitement arise. So these are the symptoms of Rajsikta. Greed, activity means you want to stay so active, excessive activity. Greed. And undertaking of selfish work. You are doing things for yourself. There's always a fruit of the action in your mind. What will I get out of it? And a restlessness. Because of those fruits, the mind stays restless. And excitement. And what is this excitement? Excitement means always staying excited about the future. What will happen? Anxious. Will it work or not? Will I get it or not? That is Rajsikta. Oh Arjun, when inertia is predominant, ignorance, inactivity, carelessness, and delusion arise. So this is a Tamsikta. Okay, so verse 13, the symptoms of a Tamsic nature. Verse 12, symptoms of a Rajasic nature. And verse 11, symptoms of a Sattvic nature. And we can see that, and we go through, nobody is 100% Sattvic, no person 100% Tamsic. We fluctuate between these three. So that's why we got to make sure that predominantly we stay Sattvic. And even while staying Sattvic, the goal is always in our mind, which is rising above these three gunas. Okay? One who dies when goodness dominates goes to heaven, the pure world of knowers of the Supreme. Because dies means the death of this body, right? Atma never dies. The death of this body, when the departure from this body comes, if there's a sattvikta in us, we'll go towards the upper world. That means the future will be better. And just like we talk about, we don't know when our last breath will be. So try to live most and more sattvic life. And he'll talk about what sattvic is in the future chapters, what sattvic food is, what sattvic mind is, what sattvic happiness is, what sattvic knowledge is, all of it. Because in this human life, we use all these things. So more and more sattvikta. So one who dies when goodness dominates goes to heaven, the pure world of knowers of the Supreme. So you will be in the company of those kind of knowers. One who dies when passion dominates is reborn as person attached to action on earth. Predominantly as human beings, we are Rajasic. Okay? Predominantly, I'm not saying everybody all the time, but it's a karam yoni. We are very much attached to our karam and the fruits of our karam. That's why constantly we are told that you do this, you'll get this. Ever since we were little, study hard, you'll come first in class. If you take up this kind of a profession, you'll make more money. If you marry this person or behave yourself, you'll be attractive to a good person. So always the fruit was in our mind. But now at this point, we got to understand what the purpose of this life is. Not the fruit, but to know ourselves. So one who dies when passion dominates is reborn as person attached to action on earth. One who dies in ignorance is reborn as a lower creature. So according to Lord Krishna, we can come back as lower creatures also. We can come back as animals also, as plants also. Okay, if there is a predominance of inertness in us, carelessness in us, foolishness in us, then definitely we'll come back as plants also. Okay. The fruit of good action is said to be beneficial and pure. The fruit of passionate action is pain, and the fruit of ignorant action is laziness. Self-knowledge arises from the mode of goodness. Greed arises from the mode of passion. And negligence, delusion, and slowness of mind arise from the mode of ignorance. So this is another way we can really dissect our own personality. This is not to point fingers at other people. All of this knowledge is just to know what is happening in our back of our mind, in our personality. So let me read again. Self-knowledge arises from the mode of goodness. That's why they say that try to live a more sattvic life, self-knowledge, because there will be more and more purity and you will know yourself. Greed arises from the mode of passion. Rajasic people, very greedy. And the negligence, delusion, and slowness of mind from the mode of ignorance. Okay? We have to get rid of the tamsikta. Rajasikta also we should reduce. If we stay more and more in a sattvic mode of nature, that will help us to transcend. They who are established in goodness go to higher world or heaven. Passionate persons are reborn in this mortal world, and the insipid ones, abiding in the mode of ignorance, take birth as lower creatures or go to lower planets of hell, depending on the degree of their ignorance. So he's summarizing it in this verse. It's a very famous verse. Udharvam gachanti satvastha madhye tishtanti rajasa. Right? So then in the next one he says, when visionaries perceive no doer other than the three modes of material nature and know the Supreme, which is above and beyond these modes, then they attain nirvana or salvation. So who is really the doer? Doer is the Prakriti in us. Because in the previous class also the question was, if I'm not doing it, who is doing it? The Prakriti in me is doing it. And I am not the Prakriti in me. See, when visionaries, visionary means the people who know, they have envisioned it. Those are the visionaries. Those are the yogis. See, he used the word anupashyanti. Anu means even a smallest of the smallest portion they saw. They knew. Pashyanti, they saw the reality. So when visionary perceive no doer other than the three modes of material nature, so only the gunas are working. They are acting. And know the Supreme, which is above and beyond these three gunas. Supreme means the Atma. Atma is above that. Atma is not sattvic, Atma is above sattvikta. Then they attain nirvana or salvation. When one rises above or transcends the three modes of material nature that originate in the body, one attains immortality or salvation and is freed from the pains of birth, old age, and death. See, Janam, Mrityu, Jara. Okay, so birth, pain of old age, and pain of death. Arjun said, what are the marks of those who have transcended the three modes of material nature? Because Lord Krishna is clearly telling us that we need to transcend these three modes. So Arjun wants to know, how do I recognize, whether in me or in somebody else, that who has transcended? What are the marks of those who have transcended the three modes of material nature, and what is their conduct? How does this person behave? How does one transcend these three modes of material nature? And how did he do it? Oh Lord Krishna. So Arjun is asking a three-forked question here. That how do I recognize that person? How did he do it? And how does he live in this world? What his conduct is also. Because our conduct is normally either it's a sattvic action or a rajasic action or a tamasic action. It's based upon these. So he says, how does he behave if he has transcended it? Now, rest of the chapter, Lord Krishna answers this question beautifully. He says, one has transcended the modes of material nature who neither hates the presence of enlightenment, activity, and delusion, nor desires them when they are absent. Okay? Who remains like a witness without being affected by the modes of material nature. Who stays firmly attached to the Lord without wavering, thinking that only the modes of material nature are operating. So in other words, he knows this is just a role I'm playing. I am the witness, I'm just a watcher. That person stays true to that. Let me read it again, very powerful, these two verses. He's answering that deep questions which we should be asking also, which were asked by Arjuna. So Lord Krishna says, one has transcended the modes of material nature who neither hates the presence of enlightenment, activity, or delusion. So that means the sattvikta, rajsikta, or tamsikta, whether they are present or whether they are absent, it doesn't affect him. Because he knows, I am beyond that. Nor desires them when they are absent. Who remains like a witness without being affected by the modes of material nature. Who stays firmly attached to the Lord without wavering. So constant companionship of the Lord. Thinking that only the modes of material nature are operating. And one who depends on the Lord, so that person is dependent upon the Lord. See, we are dependent upon the Prakriti. This person is dependent upon the Lord. Total faith, total surrender, and is indifferent to pain and pleasure. To whom a clod, a stone, and gold are alike, and to whom the dear and the unfriendly are alike. Who is of a firm mind, who is calm in sensual and in praise, and indifferent to honor and disgrace, who is impartial to friend and foe, and who has relinquished all desire-prompted undertakings, is said to have transcended the modes of material nature. And if you remember in chapter 12, some of these were the qualities of a devotee also. In the previous chapter, these were the qualities of a jnani also. So we need to cultivate these qualities in order to raise ourselves above these modes of nature. Okay, so nothing new over here. It is like a detachment from the physical level, detachment from the mental level, detachment from the intellectual level. And that's what we were talking about earlier. When we meditate, this is what we are doing. So over here, he has expressed it further in a very practical manner. This is more like a symbolic manner. Okay, rising above these lower planes of existence. Then he says, one who serves me with love and unswerving devotion transcends the three modes of material nature and becomes fit for nirvana. So serve, so that means doing all our actions for the happiness of God. Some people might think that, oh gosh, God is so needy, so greedy. It's not for him we are doing it. It's not for God. It's for our own purity. Just like if we are taking a bath in a clean water, we are not taking a bath for the water's sake. We are doing it for ourselves so that we are clean. So we got to remember this in the right context. God is God, with or without our prayers. Because I am the source of the immortal spirit, Brahma, of everlasting cosmic power, Dharam, and of the absolute bliss. So this is the reason. So I am the source of the immortal spirit. Source, everlasting cosmic order, Dharam, and the absolute bliss. So this is the reason he says, serve me with love and unswerving devotion. And that is the way, because Arjuna asked, how does this person has transcended? This is the way the person has transcended. Okay, by loving God, having an unswerving devotion for God, and serving also. It's not just sitting and doing nothing. Whatever we do it for God's sake. He says that's how a person has transcended, and once a person has done it, he becomes fit for nirvana. That means that you are ready to walk on this path and ultimately reach there. Okay, so I told you that this chapter is a short chapter, but it's almost like a very dense, lot of knowledge in there, lot of uh, pointers towards the truth in there. What do we need to do, how to do it, and extremely clear chapter. Okay, so any question?
Yes, Hershey, I have a question. Can you please help me understand? So tamas is described as ignorance and delusion, but I'm not sure what is meant by ignorance, because rajasic action is also ignorant of the.
Okay, ignorance really means not knowing who you are. That ignorance.
But is that not also true with rajasic action? That's also
Yeah, Rajasic is mainly wrong knowing is Rajasikata.
Oh.
knowing is tamsikta.
Oh.
Got it?
Okay.
Wrong knowing. Thinking that body is me. Wrong knowing.
Mm.
And then just fixate your mind on that wrong knowing. No, this is it.
Uh-huh.
Okay? So, but not knowing, and then, we fluctuate between these two. Might turn it off. It makes sound. Yeah. Yeah, turn it
It's
off. I don't
okay.
need.
We can't hear the sound now. I can't hear any of the background sound, so it's okay.
Pretty soon it will come. Fan also, when it's revolving at a highest speed, we don't even see it's moving. When it's middle, that's a Rajsik. Okay? It makes a lot of noise then too. And then when it's not working at all, it's Tamsik. Right? So fans also go through these 3 stages.
So Hershey, are demonic qualities Rajsik or Tamsik?
Demonic is Tamsik. When we want to hurt somebody, we think we are bigger than them.
But I'm confused because it sounds in these verses like Tamsik is defined as like laziness and Rajsik is defined as greed. So
yeah, see,
not sure
Tamsik is
and
laziness
word.
means. Tamsik laziness means I don't want to do it. I would rather have somebody else take care of me. That's a tamsik. Carelessness, laziness, procrastination, they are all tamsik. But when we rise a little bit above it, the greed comes. I want more for myself. I want to work hard. That's Rajsik. Greed. Then we don't mind cheating. So we are constantly in the flux between these two.
So Tamsik is a lower state than Rajsik?
Yes, Tamsik is a lower. Tamsik is a darkness, a lowest, you don't even know. Rajsik, you know wrong. Okay? You think you are the body. That's a Rajsik. So greed. I think there's a one handout. I think you might have it, Kim, where I have 3 columns. And all these mental behaviors, our intellectual estimations, our physical conditions, they all, I have put it into 3 columns, right? Rajsik, Tamsik, and Sattvic.
Yes.
So greed is Rajsik. Okay. A lot of people think that procrastination, no, everybody procrastinates. That's a Tamsikta. I'll do it tomorrow. Tomorrow never comes.
Okay.
That is a Tamsikta. So we all have a little color of Tamsikta also in us, and Rajsikta also in us, and Sattvikta also in us. But remember, Lord Krishna said, which one is predominating at any given time? That's how that personality shows. Okay? One is on top of the other 2. Sometimes the Tamsikta has taken over. Sometimes Satvikta has taken over the Rajsikta and the Tamsikta. Sometimes Rajsikta has taken over Satvikta and the Rajsikta. The other 2 at the bottom, 1 on top. See, right now we are learning. We want to learn. Okay, that's a Satvik. We are in a Satvik state of mind. And if somebody says, I have learned enough, there's no more knowledge I need. I would rather spend this time to earn something. Then there's a Rajsikta in us. Then we say that no, I have earned enough, or somebody else can give it to me. Maybe I can apply for a loan and use that money. Or maybe when my parents die, they will leave enough money for me. Why work hard? That's Tamsikta. It doesn't take that long for the other enemy to come up. Okay. Okay. So
So
Rajsi.
Harshji, I have a question. Like the 7 stages of life, does it depend on these three, different like tamsikta, satvikta, or rajsikta? Because when you are young, you are more energetic. You want to pray, you want to be devotional, but you have responsibilities too. So how does it play roles? Because maybe at that time your satvikta won't reflect because you can't devote that much time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. See, first of all these three are part of the prakriti in us. Prakriti means the body, the mind, the intellect, ego. It reflects in there. Atma is above and beyond that.
Yeah.
Okay. And then since we have brought the mind and the intellect and the ego with us from the previous lives also. So one person, even as a little, just like your daughter, even she is young, but still there's a sattvikta in her. She wants to learn. She wants to practice. That doesn't mean all girls or boys at that age will do that. So it's not according to the age of the person. Okay, but predominantly we can say that the body is sattvic when it's young, because it is still going through the growing, and it's a young body. Young body is a healthy body. That's a sattvic body. And when a person gets old, decay has happened, that's a tamasic body. Okay, so only at the body level we can say that, but the mind and the intellect, it has been coming with us again and again in so many lifetimes, and with our own effort we have kept it either sattvic or made it sattvic or made it tamasic or rajasic. Okay, so it's not according to the physical body, sure we can say that predominantly, but the other other layers of our body, we cannot say it like that.
Okay, got
Okay,
it.
so your daughter or some other young kids who come to these classes or to go to other places, we can easily see that they have the inclination to learn. And some elderly people, they say, no, we'll do it later on. This is not the age to learn. Okay, so, and then ultimately God helps us. The whole system is made that God sends us to that kind of environment where we can learn more or not learn at all. A person with a tamasic mind will be born in a tamasic family.
Yeah.
Right? So this is how it works. So all of these three modes, remember that what we learned, they are at the level of our body, and physical body, subtle body, causal body. Okay? And we've been carrying this around, and we add also. See, when we teach our little children something good, we are adding something good to their baggage. And as a parent, this is our responsibility. Okay?
Yeah.
But the knowledge has to be there in us also in order to impart the right knowledge. Right? See, some kids, I'm sure between your two daughters, you can see a difference.
Yeah.
They can never be exactly the same.
Yep.
Even the twins are not the same. Same parents, basically same economic situation, same environment, but sometimes entirely different attitude, aptitude, because that is dependent upon the subtle body. Okay, so but that doesn't mean we cannot change it.
Yeah.
See, nature is changeable. Okay, just like body changes, mind can be changed, intellect can be changed. So prakriti part in us is changeable. It will never stay the same. Either it will go down or go up. Atma is the one which doesn't change by definition. Okay, so
Hershji,
Yes, Prem.
I have a little confusion about the body changing and becoming tamasic, because we control our behavior and we become sattvic from tamasic and rajasic. We change that because we want to move towards sattvic. But the body change is natural and it's not in our hands. So how does that work?
Yeah, so what happens is body will decay. With old age, body will decay because that is the nature of the body. What happens with our sadhana is we start disidentifying ourselves with the body.
I see.
Then we are not concerned over it. We don't get affected by it. We don't get, see, just like he said, there's no pain or pleasure from that. We get detached from this body.
Okay. Okay.
It's not a person who is situated in the sattvic all the time, body will stay. Unless a person has accomplished those yogic siddhis, I can see that they can revive their body, but majority of the people, the body after certain age does start to decay.
For sure.
That is the nature of this body. Okay, a yogi's body will also ultimately die. Okay.
Thank you.
So this is what the tamsikta is. Anything which is rotting is tamsik.
Okay. Okay. Whether it's in our control or not.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because that is the nature, it will rot. You bring home apples which are nice and firm, they are sattvic. After a few days, those apples are overripe. We call them rajasic. And leave them few more days in your fruit bowl. Even when you want to throw them out, you just pick them up with 2 fingers. You don't even want to use the whole hand because it's so mushy and so yucky and fruit flies over it. It has happened in my kitchen. I don't know whether you go through or not, but I have gone through it.
I do.
Because I sometimes overbuy the apples. I think I'm going to eat them all. And then some of them, my husband always says that, have they reached the expiry date or not? So,
but I was under the impression that we can control with our sadhana from tamasic to rajasic to sattvic, but
to certain level, unless we have become accomplished yogis, then we can. But accomplished yogi also, they interfere in these natural phenomena for the benefit of others, not for themselves.
Not for themselves.
I asked my father, Guruji,
Anji,
in his old age, like he was 94, 95, directly I just put this question to him. I said, all my life, I have seen you curing other people. From the deathbed, we have seen people risen up. Where doctor said this person is dead, but Guruji said, no, he's not. There's so many countless examples like that. I won't go through the detail right now, but those were the examples clear in my mind. I said, you did it, and now you say that your legs are hurting. Why can't you cure yourself? You have the power. I know you have the power. No doubt in my mind. He just looked at me. I still remember. He was lying down in his bed. He looked at me. He did not deny that he doesn't have the power. But his words were, these powers are to help others. Not for his own body.
Thank you.
If he would have seen that his body, by keeping the Atma in the body, would help the society, he would have done it. But he decided the time has come to leave this body. Got it, Prem?
Yes, I got it. Thank you so very much.
Yeah. So yogis, sure, that caliber of yogis, they can do, they are above the Prakriti. But what we need to work on is, at our level, stay more and more sattvic.
Uh-huh.
And in future chapters, we'll learn more about Sattvikta. There's a lot more. I mean, this is only a start of this discourse.
Yes.
We'll really get a lot more knowledge. So stay more and more Sattvic.
Yes.
And stay more and more attached to who we are. Remember that we are the Atma, which is part of Paramatma.
Yes.
And then get rid of the selfishness from our personality. Wherever we can help others, we should help others.
Yes.
Without even thinking that we are doing it.
Yes.
Okay, that me and mine, we should reduce internally. We don't have to say it.
Yes.
In fact, we should never say it, but in our mind, we should never think that. That's how we rise above these gunas.
Got it. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
so that's how I read this chapter. A lot of clarity, a lot of information in this, even though it's a short chapter, 27 verses only, but it's almost like a capsule which is full of potency.
Mhm.
Every word over there, even Arjun's question, and I mean, in one small verse, he's asking 3 questions, which are so powerful questions. How do we recognize? How does he behave? How did he reach?
Right, right.
Because we need to reach there too. And we need to recognize this kind of a person so that we can follow this kind of a person. That's why he said, what is the conduct of this kind of a person who has risen above? That's why I give you the examples of my Guruji. That's how his conduct was. Even though he had the powers. And with simple words, he said, the yogi doesn't use these powers for himself. He went through the pain because his legs would hurt a lot. Because we could see that. But was he perturbed? No. He kept doing his duties even in that kind of a pain. At the age of 95, he kept giving the sermons, kept doing his duties, kept taking care of the people who came to the ashram. And he knew exactly who is coming and what their questions are. So that's the life of a yogi of that caliber. Okay?
And Harshji, if your father, your Guruji, had helped himself, he would have come down to Rajasic behavior.
Yeah, because that will be a selfishness for himself. And then thinking that I got to help others. I need a body, I need to help others. He just didn't want to interfere
With
this divine, the nature of this providence.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
So,
Hershey, why is it okay to interfere with the nature of the divine providence to help other people? Like you said, he didn't want to help himself because that would interfere with the divine.
yeah, we don't know exactly. All we can do is just think about it, but I'm just telling you what he told me. He told me that these powers are not to be used for personal use. Okay, to get rid of his pain, even though he could get rid of countless people. Let me tell you, this lady, let me give you one example. This lady who came over here a few years ago, right now she's living in San Francisco. At that time, when this incident happened, she was in Holland. Indian lady, married to Indian guy. They had 3 children, owned a grocery store. She calls Guruji. In India, it is 2 a.m. So he is asleep. Call comes. This lady is crying. She says, somebody shot my husband several times in the chest area, in the head area also. She's just sobbing, crying. My husband is gone. My husband is gone. Body is being taken to the hospital. You know what did he say to her? Because this came from her mouth when she visited us over here. She said, Guruji said, call me in the morning when he's up.
Wow.
That's exactly what he said, because at 2 a.m. he just said that, call me in the morning when he's up. He's taken to the hospital. The bullets have been taken out. And then she says, in the morning he was up. And then she called him. There was one bullet still, even after all these years, one bullet is still lodged in the brain, which they could not take it out.
Wow.
Because it was too dangerous. It was in the brain in that some particular point. But he is still alive, working with a full health. Whose grace is that? Doesn't it sound like a miracle? Or if I would have told you, just I have read it somewhere, you'll say, oh gosh, what a great fiction. But this came from the mouth of a person whose husband went through, and the husband is still alive. And the stories like that, many, many we have gone through in our lifetime. I remember my own body. I used to do a lot of yoga. It's just like I just had obsession. My sister knows whatever I like to do, I just go 100% into it. So did a lot of yoga. So my knees, they became a little weak. Time came when I could not even go up and down on the stairs. I had to just sit on my butts and then slide down because knees would hurt so much. Went to the doctor, he did the MRI, he said, your knees are bad, so bad that you're gonna need an operation. And I was barely, I think I was in mid-30s at that time. Called Guruji and I said, doctor is saying that I need an operation. He said, don't. Just stop doing less yoga. I didn't know how he knew I was doing too much yoga. Obviously he knew. So he said, just very gentle yoga, just do not get the operation. Right after that, my daughter, Triya, she broke her arm. We took her to the same doctor. And he put a cast on her elbow and the arm. And then he looked at me, he said, aren't you the same person I did the MRI on and I asked you to come back for the surgery? And I just looked at him, I said, do you think I need a surgery? So this was almost 30 years ago. Whose blessing was that? I don't think it was lack of nutrition at that time. I started eating more or any exercise. This is the grace of a guru of that caliber. He must have seen at that time, yeah, this young lady needs to take care of, teach people or take care of the family, and he blessed her. I really think that it was his blessings.
Guruji, is
Yes.
that why his legs hurt? He absorbed your pain.
No, they don't absorb.
I'm just
that
kidding.
is one thing I did ask him again, because I used to, I'm just just like him, I used to ask a lot of questions too. Okay. So one time I said, does a guru really take the pain? He says, why should guru take the pain? If a guru who can take, he can make it go away too. Why should a guru absorb? So I always remember his answers because they were so clear, no confusion about it. They made sense also. A guru who can take can get rid of it too. He said, why should guru take?
Is there a book of stories about Guruji?
Yes,
Writing?
it's written in Hindi. We need to translate it.
Okay.
Yeah, there are books. There are some books written. Still, not all the stories, but there have been so many. I think Aruna, you should start writing. Aruna knows a lot more stories because one thing is she's wiser than I am, and then she's older than I am. So she should write these. Aruna, you should actually. She knows a lot of stories, and those stories are like a real stories. They are not made up. Whatever I said, Aruna already knows, right, Aruna?
Yeah, there's another story.
Uh-huh.
His last birthday, I was there,
Yeah, she was
and
there.
he asked someone, he said, okay, he called that guy from the Bhavan. He said, come over. This is Shamsher Singh ji. He said, you brought a few people with you. He said, yeah, because they were not asking the questions. They were not coming because he was in the bed.
So Bhavan is like a building which is about half a mile away from where his residence was. Okay.
So he
Yes,
said,
Aruna, sorry.
yeah, I brought 3 people. He said, okay, bring them here. Those 3 people, they came. He said, you have some problem? You fell from the pillar? He said, yeah, I work for the electricity department. I was fixing something and fell. And his backbone was like broken some places. So he gave them the advice what to do the asana. 3 people were there. And he knew those people, they came, but they were not coming. So they didn't want to disturb him at that time. But he knew. Papaji knew that 3 people are there. They want to ask something, but they're not coming. So he called them.
So like his vision was like that he knew exactly what's happening, and he'll never say that I know, that I was not there.
Yeah.
He never took the credit. He'll always said that God does it, not me. Okay. So there's so many stories, but Kim, yeah, I'm not going back to Kim. You should write a book. Okay. Because people tell me to write a book. I don't think I am. I don't have that kind of a talent to write. So maybe you should.
Sure.
Okay. All right. So I think if it's 12:34. Wow. Okay, you guys have a good day. So we'll have a class tomorrow morning. If anybody has a question, do ask. Otherwise, we'll meet tomorrow again. Thanks to Mr. Zoom, huh?
Thank you, Guruji. I look forward to your book, Erna. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Hersh.
Thank you,
Bye,
Hershey.
Hersh.